welcome to Livelihoods. I am Sharon Ijason. On this week edition of the program, we'll continue that conversation towards achieving decent work and social justice, as is one of the themes of discourse at the ILC conference held in Geneva, Switzerland. We will be right back.
The Kaduna State Universal Basic Education Board had dismissed 2,357 teachers who failed the recently conducted competency test organized by the board. The board had, in a statement released on Sunday, disclosed that it conducted a competency test for over 30,000 teachers in December 2021, while 2,192 teachers refused to sit for the tests. The sacked teachers include the national president of the Teachers Union, Audu Titus Amba. The Teachers Union is vehemently opposed to this decision and insists that the competency test is arbitrary and lacking in certainty. They vow to damn tools if the decision is not reversed.
The National Executive Council NEC of our trade union, in good faith, had, in accordance with international best practices in the teaching profession, advocated that the Kaduna State government should rather embark on continuous teacher training program, which would, at the end of the day, improve knowledge and service delivery by teachers in the public schools of Kaduna State.
That whatever action, utterances, publication, meant to malign or subline or hoodwink anybody to believe it. Now, our national president, Comrade Titus Amba, has fallen guilty of the law, have been declared null and void.
I think we are at the critical moment that the teachers of Nigeria must rise and probably work by showing the way out to bad governance in this country. If my memory can serve me well, I think the inclusion of training and retraining of workforce does not just find its way within the content of table of civil service, because knowledge is dynamic. Is it the way we have been going about the civil service operation in the years and years of colonial masters that we are doing right now? We are right now in digital age where the methodology of yesteryear is about to be obsolete. Here we now have a governor using the paraphernalia of the state government to throw this nation into backwardness when we have left Egypt so long.
The Teachers Union believe that the act taken by the state is aimed at intimidating its president and all teachers in Nigeria. The union reaffirmed its commitment to stand by its president, Comrade Audu Titus Amba, and all the teachers in the state who has fallen victim of the anti-labor policies in Kaduna State.
The National Union of Petroleum and Natural Gas Workers NUPENG received one of its members, Ejiro Otarigo, the brave tanker driver. Ejiro Otarigo was said to have jumped into the tanker when he noticed it caught fire while it was offloading diesel at the petrol station and drove it far away from the center of the town.
We are proud of that bravery which you exhibited. And of course, what we are mostly happy is that as part of the drivers that the union has trained all over times on how to handle dangerous periods, you put that to play very well, and to God be the glory. Today, everybody is celebrating that simple act, and I think this should also be like a wake-up call to our other tanker drivers too, that a period of dangers like that, they shouldn't panic, but they should be charged of that situation, and be courageous enough to find, a safe way around it.
During a familiarity visit to the Union Secretariat, the national president of NUPENG, Williams Akwera, named Ejiro Otarigo as its ambassador, who is worthy of emulation. He explained that members of the union have participated in safety training before now.
Like you rightly said, Mr. President, sir, I told Mr. Folabi that it was part of the lectures we've received before that made me to take the risk. And it was God that gave me that grace. So I'm very happy. I am grateful to the union, and I will still remain grateful to the union. It's a privilege. God bless everybody.
Despite that, people are thinking that tanker drivers, they have no education. But we know what we are doing. We can express ourselves anywhere, at any time. This young man, in fact, what he did, I'm proud of you.
Thank you, sir.
God will strengthen you.
Amen.
And your family.
This is part of the training that I was given in Warri. I was so moved, and we're really proud of you. And we know there are thousands of you out there doing the same good job. You are good ambassadors of this great union.
Though the National Secretariat of NUPENG has honored the brave tanker driver, it's expected that many other organizations, unions and establishments, be it public or private sector, will do the needful to further enhance training and retraining of workers. The World Day Against Child Labour is a commemoration sanctioned by the International Labour Organization, ILO. It was first launched in 2002 with the aim of raising awareness and activism to prevent child labour. Slavery, child trafficking, debt bondage, forced labor, children in armed conflict, and those working in illegal activities are considered to be some of the worst forms of child labor. Hazardous work is another form of child labor that the world is battling with. As argued by experts, such practice should not be done by any child under 18 years, even if he or she is over the legal minimum working age. In my quest to tell the story of a rising number of out-of-school children in Nigeria, I met with Tokpe Ajewole, not his real name, a 17-year-old boy who dropped out of school at the age of 15 to become an apprentice. He is also a child hawker who sells nose masks on the streets of Lagos, southwest Nigeria.
I need the time when they don't start COVID-19, I know they say this nose mask, but this one does not. If we sell nose mask, we use and eat because we cannot stop. We will not eat now. We will eat now, and we are 4 in number. With my mom, we are making 5, and it's the nose mask that we are using and eat. There's no any work in my mommy's hand. If I can send place that can help me, I will be happy.
For him, going back to school to write his senior school certificate examination is a desire, but his mother cannot afford it.
There's no money with my parents, and I suppose don't do my work on 2021, but there's no much money in my mommy hand. That is why I'm hustling. But me, I was stressing myself so that I can save money, so that I will be able to go to school by myself. I want to study building engineering, civil engineering, so that all our road, so I will be able to be constructing everything. All the road that is not good, all the bad road, I will be able to construct it.
The ILO marked this year's World Day Against Child Labour with the theme Universal Social Protection to End Child Labour.
Policymakers need to create social protection systems that reach all children, and in particular those more vulnerable to child labour. These systems need to be put in place alongside measures to ensure decent work for adults and quality education for all children. Yes, this will require investment, but countries will reap the benefits of a fully educated and skilled workforce. The choices that governments make now will make or break the lives of millions of children, today and in the future.
We concomitantly fight child labor, fight poverty, and then give social protection. A three-pronged triad system that is beneficial in the long run. So the results will not manifest immediately. So the World Bank and IMF figures, yes, they could be what it is today, but we've articulated a program that has an immediate effect, medium-term effect, and long-term.
Despite the country's pledge to increase the annual budget for education, the challenge is yet to be tackled. Child labor is a complex and systemic problem in Africa. According to research, it is impossible to point to one single cause. Poverty, natural disasters, conflict, lack of quality education, remoteness and tradition are some of the most common factors driving children into child labor.
There's a concern about the rising number of out-of-school children in the country. Many stakeholders hope that relevant authorities will do the needful to reduce the number to the barest minimum.
Building capacity in communities, improving family livelihoods, and increasing access to quality education and skill training for children and youth remain the solutions to ending child labor across the globe. For people like Tokwe Ajewole, not his real name, they hope that they can still achieve their dream of getting basic education before crossing to adulthood. On the Profile Interview segment this week, I will be speaking with the Deputy President of Trade Union Congress of Nigeria, Comrade Oyinkansola Olasonye. She brought us up to speed on several conversations that was deliberated on the floor of the plenary at the ILC Conference 2022, while also sharing her experience at the Apprenticeship Committee, which she served on. It's good to have you on the program. Thank you. A lot is happening at the ILO conference. It's the 110th conference that ILO will be celebrating or holding. And of course, one of the biggest issues for them is the issue of child labor. And we know that in Africa, we are very concerned also about it because we almost have the highest number of children impacted. How would you react to this? What's been the deliberations? How would you react to child labor? What do you think can be done to reduce the number of child labor to the barest minimum in Nigeria and maybe in Africa?
Thank you so much. This year, ILC make a sort of proposal, a sort of conclusion that if there is social justice, if there is social welfare, that maybe it will reduce child labor. And yes, I quite agree that majority of the parents in Africa and all developing countries, their take home, which is the minimum wage, is not up to $20, $50 per day. And the cost of living in these cities are very high. So definitely when the parents are finding it very tough to cope and take care of the family, they will resort to the children going out to work, which is child labor. So for us, I think that if the necessary social protections and welfare can be put in place, and we implement all policies that have been enacted in Nigeria, there is a follow-up, there is enforcement, most especially the educational policy that every child must go to school, and that we are sure of meal when they get back home. We are sure of bus services for these children going to school. We are sure that they will be able, their parents will be able to afford the minimal, like the accommodation, the health, the educational park, the books. There's a functional library, and there are so many public schools that are working, not necessarily taking them all to a private school where they pay more. I think all this together will eradicate child labor.
During International Labour Conference, you served under the apprenticeship committee. It's quite a new one. What has been the response from the employers of labour, governments generally, and what's your personal view? Do you think this is an appropriate committee to have at this time?
Thank you. At this International Labour Conference, yes, I serve under the Apprenticeship Committee. It's a new instrument that we are trying to bring on board. It's not a law, it's not a convention yet, but a new law that what can we do? We realize that we need more of skill. Right skilling, upskilling, that everything now, the skill is gradually going down. We need more of people that have the necessary and the right skill. So, but we realize that going through the learning stage to develop this skill, we need to put some laws, some practices, and some norm in place that will guide the development of apprenticeship. You will notice that in our country, in Nigeria, when you ask somebody to go and learn a trade, it's like initially that you are putting that place into a slave camp, because the things they do, the provision from government, the encouragement from government, nothing. There is no law definitely put in place. So the people training them, they can only follow the law of the people training them. But now, globally, we are trying to put a place and said this should be the foundation of what we should expect when somebody is trying to learn a job or a skill in any institution. Yes, because what we have done this year before coming here is that our survey we are sent out to government, employers and employees, and based on the questions answered in this survey, we have sat together to try to see, I serve under the workers committee, to see, and we were able to share best practices worldwide, so that we can now make it a sort of law, a proposed law, that now the worker, the government and the employer, they two have met, will now be able to annex. Then maybe the next sitting of the world body or the next ILC, then we'll be able to come together and annex it properly, so that the three tripartite will be able to see it as a proper instrument to work with.
The conversation for the need for decent work has been on for a while, and looking at the advent of COVID-19 and also countries trying to recover from the challenges of COVID-19, how would you take the campaign of decent work? How is the ILO reacting to these developments? Because I know there was a time that the outgoing DG says it should be a better work. It should be a better world of work, and because of the advent of COVID-19, workers do not have to pay that price. The campaign for decent work, what do you think needs to be done to ensure that Nigerians or workers across the globe actually enjoy life?
Thank you. There are so many things that is attached to decent work. It starts from good pay. It starts to good environment to work in, to interpersonal relationship in the environment, the necessary tools and equipment that need to be put in place for a worker to be able to produce effectively. So as long as all these things are not available, they are not put together, it is still tough to have a decent work environment in developing countries. We talk about minimum wage that is very low. Yes, some people felt that workers are always asking for all the time. But do they realize that if the minimum wage does not have social welfareism, does not have social security, our pension is not enough to feed somebody after, now that the age of retirement is gradually being wind down. Yes, officially it's still 60, but in majority of the institutions, it is gradually becoming lesser than 60. And who says somebody cannot live to 120, 130? So whatever we have put in place for our pension will still not be adequate, as long as you still need to take care of some things government is supposed to have taken care of. Like as a present, electricity is not there, you provide it yourself. Water is not there, you provide it yourself. Education for your children, there's no public one provided by the government. Health-wise, despite our condition, our environment with constant sicknesses, there's no strong and standard medical facility that is you don't need to pay for. There should be all these things. As long as it's not in place, you can't talk about decent work. Because people working are not in a social in a social situation that they are at peace to be able to work decently in an environment that is not friendly and is not decent to them.
Which brings us to the conversation of social welfare, which you've also spoken about. But the question is, do you think workers would be under less pressure if the country provides more social welfare package for workers, or even people that are not even the regular workers, citizens generally? What do you think? What can be done to improve the social welfare net in the country?
Thank you so much. You know, before now, even the little that the union have been able to, the workers generally have been able to achieve under social welfare in the institutions are gradually being eroded. You know, before now, we have some number of days for our annual leave. Gradually, the institutions are reducing the number of hourly leave. Before now, we have medical facilities in the various institutions that can take care of their workers up to some specified policy list. But gradually, with the introduction of HMOs and some organization picking the list of the products that is available, members and workers cannot achieve the needed things in this area. Like when I started working, government have even schools, even that are categorized. What I mean is that they are model colleges, they are unity colleges, they are public institutions, and people can go through all this and come out with flying color and become somebody in life. But gradually, you could see ASU strike for over 2 months. I'm sorry I'm bringing this. So it means that most Nigerian workers, most workers now, what they are thinking, their plan is how to take their children to private institutions, universities, or outside the country. So when all these one are together, without government coming out to say, okay, is education, we are going to give you standard education. We are going to make public universities to be universities you will be proud of, because it will serve two purposes. All the capital flight to advanced country and even human flight will be reduced. We'll be able to have people to work more at home. So government need to consider it not only from the angle of doing workers a favor by putting social securities in place, but the mere fact that it will lead to better development of the country. So government need to improve on the educational system. We already have a policy in place. There should be enforcement so that at least all Nigerian children should be able to have the basic needed education. Government need to improve on the health facility at particular age. Health facilities should be free, maybe for children under 12 and for adults from 65 and above. That way it will relieve the Nigerian workers, because you know that your children have access to free education, and you know that your parents that have taken good care of you also have access to health system. That one, it will reduce the effect and the impact on your wages and your remuneration. So if government can put this in place, good health system, they can improve on the pension, they can give necessary shelter to Nigerians. Everybody will not become too desperate to build a house. If you know that there are community houses, there are local government houses that you can buy from, you can take from, you can live in peace without facing the I don't want to use the word Shylock landlords that we ask you to pay 2-3 years housing when your salary is being paid monthly toward housing. So if government can look at this area, I know that everything will be better off.
As the president of ASBIFI, we know that working hours is being respected in your sector, but because of the advent of COVID-19, the issue of inflation, working hours can't really be decided. We know that many people still go back home to even continue to work, even though it seems like as if the working hours has been reduced a little bit. With the campaign of decent work, social justice, how would you react to this? Would you say that the working hours is fair?
Thank you. You know, the normal working hours should be 9 hours with 1 hour break. But what people, and of recent, due to the effect of electricity and the high cost of diesel, most institutions in our sector decide that they want to close early. But what people did not realize is that it's only the hours that is being reduced, the workload has not reduced. Because we still need to do your daily work. Everything you need to do in a day, you must end up doing it. So either through remote working, or by sitting behind even after it has closed to work it, or taking your system home to be able to do it. So for us, the reduction in the working hour is of lesser benefits because we still need, even it is becoming more expensive, it's like liability, cost is being transferred to Nigerian workers. Because if you are in the office environment, you don't need to use your own data, you don't need to use your own electricity, you use the institution facility, but now that they ask you to go home and you need to deliver the day's job, it means at home you must use your own source of power to fuel your electricity so that you can use your laptop, and you will still need to use your own internet to be able to connect with the office and continue working. So for us, it has not really served the necessary. Although I will need to put it that there are some institutions that realize it and they have found a way to find some allowances that have been added, like COVID allowance, but still it is not up to our expectation as at present.
Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you so much.
And that's all we can take on today's edition of the program. Join us next week for a fresh edition of the show. I am Sharon Ijason. Thanks for watching, and remember that labor creates wealth.